Hello, everyone. So, for our second episode, we have a very special guest once again. And this time around, our guest is from Brazil. So, it's, I think, it's something new. A lot of the unschooling community is in America, but there are people doing very similar things all over the world. Anyway, I met this person randomly in a Discord community, and he is someone who does marketing and very recently started his own company. He's trying to start this new company. He loves ninja stuff. He's a supporter of all sorts of movements, and he is just a little bit crazy. So please welcome ICARO. I can't say the name right. Please welcome ICARO. Yes. To the stream.
Hey,
Hey.
great to be here. Just saying that it wasn't last minute for me because basically everything that I planned is literally just like that. Like a reason it comes to my mind, I just click and do it. So
Wow.
you actually asked me one day before, so that's actually a lot for me. that's a lot of planning for me.
That's enough for you?
Yeah.
You're always like that? You've always been like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Like my mom says that every time I have something in mind, I will do it no matter what. So if I think I need to do it, I won't twice before trying it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it doesn't work pretty well for me, but
Mm-hmm. You
I think
just
I'm
try.
okay with that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, were you born in Brazil?
Yeah.
You grew up there? Mm-hmm.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, yeah. And then you moved to Sao Paulo, the capital,
Yes, São Paulo.
later. São
Yes.
Paulo. I see. But before
Not
that,
the capital, but
oh, it's not.
the biggest city in Brazil.
I see. I guess, yeah, people must mistaken it for that pretty often.
It used to be the capital,
Mm-hmm.
but we now have a new one.
Yeah. Where did you grow up? Which part of Brazil did you grow up in?
I grew up in called Bahia, specifically the city of Salvador. Salvador, the capital, Bahia. Like, really well known for carnival, the people around there, the food. It's like that little happy place that Brazil loves to sell to the whole world, especially in February where the magic happens. And you are pretty much 5 minutes to the beach, every part of the city.
Oh, I see.
It's a really hot city with tons of stuff to do if you come from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So you know how to swim, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of beaches. I see. And then you moved pretty recently, right? From your hometown. Mm.
Yeah. Been 2 years.
Oh, it's been 3 years.
It's really recent because only now I managed to really settle in the city and feel that I'm living. Because a few months back, I was just trying to survive here. So basically, the only thing that I thought here is that to do this or else I won't have eat and I probably won't have anywhere near to live. So just now things started to get clear and I say I live here, I have a life here.
Yeah, before it was all sounds like you're just surviving
Yeah,
more than living,
barely surviving.
barely surviving. I think yeah, it's the most expensive city in Brazil. You said. Why did you choose to live there, knowing it's so expensive?
You know that part about me that I'm a really crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's basically it. For some reason, I find it easier to start with harder things because my mind, if I get you hard, else will be.
Oh, you're cutting off.
I said that for some reason in my mind, I have the thing that if I start something really hard, anything will be easier from that, not harder. So I try to prepare myself as much as possible with suffering and pain and all that weird stuff till it gets easy. Then anything else is magic, like
Mm-hmm.
pretty much easy. And I had that mentality because I don't want to leave this country for the next 2 years. Like I really want to move from here as soon as possible. And even though I used to live in a capital, a big city, I felt that that experience in itself wasn't enough for me. So I needed to live somewhere bigger and expensive because I was moving out of my parents' comfort. So I needed to know how it was to take care of my own expenses and do everything by myself without the need of asking for help. Because when I leave this country, I don't think I will be like in Argentina, that it's a country right in the side of Brazil. I'll probably move to Europe in a place that people barely speak English, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I won't have much people to help me there. So setting this my home country is like a training for what is about to come in the future.
Yeah, it's like a boot camp.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
mm-hmm. It sounds like you're really self-aware, though, to know that about yourself.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That you like,
like
you're very clear about what you want.
I wouldn't say that I'm really clear about what I
Mm-hmm.
want because I don't, but I'm really clear about the things that I don't want in my life. So I'm still in the journey of finding my purpose, my I don't know how to say that, but I'm still in the journey to see what I need to do to the world, if I can say it like that. And the first step that I'm taking towards that is just in the stuff that I don't like and being as far away from that as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Base.
Oh, you're lagging. I'm going to try to change the server again. Might be a server problem. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Right. Yeah, I can.
Oh, we cut off for a second. Okay. Yeah. Knowing what you don't want is almost almost as important, I think, as knowing what you want. Mm,
For sure.
yeah.
To be honest, like the main thing that really pushed me forward is like I really value my time and freedom. Like I I simply can't imagine myself doing anything that cuts me from my freedom and choose my time. And that little thing is exactly the thing that made me think about school. Like I shouldn't be here. I really to I really need to quit this as soon as possible because or else I will just die inside,
Mm,
and I won't become someone that I'll be proud of in the next few years.
hmm. Yeah. What did you have that? Was that mentality something that grew as you got older? You know, because when do you start school in Brazil? I'm not sure. Did you start school in?
Sorry?
Do you start school? Did you start school in? Do they have kindergarten there, or is it just
Yeah.
yeah from
I think
kindergarten?
I first went to school when I was 4 years old. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much the age that we all like
Mm-hmm.
3 to 4 years old.
So did you start feeling that way in high school, or was it earlier than that?
Way earlier than that.
Way early. Wow.
Like, I have a funny story that I had a difficult time believing it because I was really young, and who told me about this was my mom. So I don't know if it's really true, but before going to school, I actually learned how to write and read by myself because I have an older brother, and we play since I know myself as a person. We play together online games, and I always ask him for reading stuff for me because I couldn't. And at some point, he was like, "No, go learning, read that by yourself." So I reached out to my mom. And he was like, "Mom, can I learn how to read in a one week?" And she was like, "I don't know, probably not, but you can try it. Here, have some books, try it." And I spent the entire week trying to learn how to read, just to play games. And that was before school.
Mm,
And right after that, when I was about 5 or 6 years, I can't remember properly about that. I was in a school that I really didn't like, so I reached out to my parents and I was like, "Can I take a year off, please? Can you like cut me from school? I promise that I will study at home, and next year I will come back better than ever." And I don't know what my parents were thinking that at that time. Like, I know that my mom believes in some spirituality stuff and some callings and that stuff. And
mm,
probably when she saw me speaking like that, she was like, "All right, I can deny that." So they took me out of school, and I spent 1 year at home studying. And after I came back from that to school was pretty much easy for me because everything the teachers tried to teach me, I already learned it by myself. And I don't feel like I'm a genius or some kind of stuff, but I stay like that forever. Like, literally everything that I learned 1 year by studying by myself, I had to relearn school for the next 8 to 10 years ahead. So I was that kid in the classroom that wouldn't pay attention to anything, would probably stay in the class speaking with everyone about anything just to not pay attention to the class, and she would get the better grades because I simply knew what the subject was. So I had that school wasn't for me since the beginning because it was the most painful experience for me. Every time I went to the school, I would just be like, "Okay, what can I do to get out of here as fast as possible so I can play when I come home?"
mm,
That was my motivation. I basically didn't do a single homework my entire life because taking school to home for me was like a nightmare. And the fun thing about it is I always felt like I was the worst uh, student in the class because I wouldn't respect all the rules. I would be talking when teachers were explaining, and I would be asking them stuff that they didn't want me to ask because it was a little in front of the subject. And still, every time my parents went to the school, they would hear good things about me. So every time I thought I was doing something wrong, I would get some confirmations like, "No, you're okay. Keep going with that."
Hmm. When you say, oh, you're doing something wrong, in what way did you feel like you were doing something wrong?
All right, I need to give you some background here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I grew up in a really poor neighborhood. Uh, I didn't have like things missing in my house, but my parents will be like working all the time, all day, and they would save as much as possible to put me like private schools because public school in Brazil simply doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were saving to pay for the school, I never had any book to study from. So when the class was happening, people were like with their books in front of them. I was literally just staring at the teacher or close to the teacher, speaking with the teacher about subjects that wasn't the class at all because I didn't have any book to follow the class. So I always felt like I was doing wrong because of that.
I see. So all the other kids had these books to learn from, but you didn't have that, right?
Yeah,
So you were just. But even though you didn't have the books to learn from, you were so persistent. Sounds like very persistent, just to learn that information and to ask the teacher what you need. Ask for what you need from the teacher.
yeah,
But and at the same time, you were ahead of your class, which is
yeah.
quite spectacular.
Like I wouldn't call it persistence because in my mind I was like, okay, if I don't do good here, I'm pretty much wasting my parents. And
Mm-hmm.
if I fail at literally any class, my my parents will get so mad at me that I probably won't be able to play anything at all for the rest of my life. That was like my mindset as a kid. So I will do the I will do as much as possible to not upset the teachers, but at the same time I would do as much as possible to not kill myself out of them. That's the reason why I wouldn't call it persistence because I was basically in a fine line between I need to make this work for my parents while I need to make this work for me. So I would always try to be as how can I say that as in between as possible to make that happen. So at the same time, I would be slack enough. I would make sure any doubt that I had about the subjects, I would address it to the teacher so they could explain me, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would understand and not go betting and other stuff. It was like a matter of survival because if I didn't go well, I will lose basically everything that really mattered to me at that time. Because school takes a lot of time, and my free time I always spend with friends, playing in the street, or playing games by myself, or with friends too.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought of losing that to to something like school that was already unpleasant for me, I think that was enough motivation for me to just stick to the teacher and
I
learn
see.
from it.
Yeah. What about school was what about school made it so unpleasant for you? Is it just that boredom? Like what about school was so boring if that was the case?
Okay, I'm a really impatient person, especially with other people. It's
Mm.
something that I'm trying to improve in myself because I know that's not good to be impatient. But in school, I always felt like I could do some things better if I had the freedom to use my time, because people were like doing their things in their times, and my focus was always to do it, but as fast as possible so I could get out. And because of that, I was the first one to finish anything at all in the class. And seeing the spare time that I had inside the school, and I couldn't do anything about it because I would still have to wait the time of the school to end and then go to my house. I started to like pile in my bag, and things just got worse with time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I guess time is the main issue. When I was a little, when I was a kid, it was easier to get to the school because my parents would take me there. At some point, I would have to take the transportation to go there or walk to there, because since my parents were always looking for a better deal of the school for me, I never stay in a single school. So I would always be shifting school for school for school for school for school for school. And that got me really tired because sometimes I was studying a year that I literally just need to walk two streets and I'm at school. And others I would have to take a bus and wait for 1 hour to reach there. In that time, I always thought like, okay, school is important. I need to do it, but it's taking way more time than I think I need. And I probably could be doing things better than it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, so it was almost too simple or easy for you.
What?
It sounds
Sorry.
like it was school was too simple or easy for you. So it's like you're doing school, but then was it just that you were faster than the other students, or was it just the way you valued your time? You value your time more, so you think you
Yeah,
can be doing better things.
I think I value my time more
I see.
because everything that I had to do uses some kind of time. Like, I had to share my computer with my brother, but if I uh, came to home earlier, I would have more time before his time to use the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And that mindset of trying to be as fast as possible so I can make things more juicy for myself made me pick the right things at the right time so I could be good enough to pass and not be called up. So I would say I were more efficient than the others, but not like smarter or faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to clarify that. Mm. So what was it that was, if you could go back, I guess if you could spend less time on school when you were younger, what would you have preferred to do instead?
Basically anything at all. Because I had really healthy friendships at that time. So any time that I spent with them would be good for me, and I would probably learn something from it. And at the same time, since my brother is 8 years older than me, anything that I did with him would make me grow fast because he was living a completely different world from me. And another thing that really made me bored of school because I always hang out with people older than me. So I was like walking, to be honest, because when my parents were working, the person who took care of me was my brother. And so basically everything that I did at that time was with him. So I was always hanging out with people older than me. And when I came back to my my place, it just felt weird because it was not the same. Like I was already thinking like here, and the kids around me like didn't care about that.
Mm-hmm. I see. So you didn't. Was there a lot of um, like talking and socializing in school, or was that you? It sounds like you just rush home or rush out of school so you can talk with your friends and play.
Yeah,
And but at school, it's just like you just go there to get what you need to get done.
yeah. To be honest, like I can't really remember almost anyone that I met while in school.
Oh.
Like from my 13 to my 17, I remember a few people because I was older and did some more things with them. But I always limited my friendships to outside school.
Oh.
For some reason, like I really didn't care
Mm-hmm.
when I was at school. I wasn't like the kid that stayed in the corner without talking to anyone. I was actually pretty introverted. I don't know if I say that right. But I would speak with everyone. I would be friends with everyone. But after school finish, I would just completely forget about everyone there.
Yeah.
I keep contact with like one friend that I met in school, and it was the friend that I met in my first year of high school, and he's like literally the only person that I still have contact
Mm-hmm.
from school.
Yeah, I think it's pretty common for high school. I don't know, maybe not, but for high school friends to drift apart. Hmm. I really want to know more about what motivated you to take that year off of school so early. It's I have never heard about of something like that.
Hold on, my cat wants to take part
Oh,
of the podcast.
okay.
Say
Hi,
hi.
cat. Hi,
Okay,
cat.
hang on.
Bye, cat.
The thing that motivated was probably because I really felt that the teacher wasn't good enough. Like, this may sound weird for a kid to say, but I'm pretty sure that I felt that because the little memories I have from that time was my brother can teach me better than this person, and my parents are spending their money on him. So I need to tell them that they are wasting their money as soon as possible. That was basically it.
Yeah.
I think like I'm trying to think like a 6 year old kid here. It's not that easy.
Yeah, 6 year
But
old. Mm-hmm.
I always value my parents' effort
Mm-hmm.
towards the did made. Like I was a little kid. And from that, I also started working as a little kid too, because if I felt that my parents couldn't afford something for me, I shouldn't ask for that. I should work to get the money and buy that. And it literally started when I was 3 years old, and a friend of my mother had an ice cream company that. So I would ask her to give me some ice cream so I could sell it in front of my house.
Uh-huh.
And I would just stay there like hanging in the gate, barely dressed, like half naked, screaming at people passing by the street to buy the ice cream. Like, it was very effective though.
It was effective.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I think I thought the teacher wasn't good enough for me at that time, and why I told my parents that I wanted to quit school for that year.
Mm. Yeah. Did this come with any, I want to say, any like stress or negative emotion when you were
When
thinking, yeah, it wasn't
when
just
when I
positive.
left at that time,
Yeah, when you just was thinking about maybe this teacher isn't good enough. I need to do something about this. Was that out of like how were you feeling then? I guess was it just because for a 6 year old that's it sounds like a really big decision. It sounds like
yeah,
it's
it
like
really does.
you're changing the entire world at your own command.
I think it happened really fast for me to even notice what was happening at that time, because, sorry, I asked them to get me out of the school in the first week that I went there.
Hmm.
So I literally didn't have enough time to even remember the teacher's face. And I'm someone that managed to somewhat remember people's face across the years, even from a young age. I guess that my memory with that is actually really good. And that teacher specifically, I don't remember anything at all from him. And I was probably right, because a few years later, the school simply vanished from the entire world. Like,
Oh.
it's a house now.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with me. It's very unique. Do you feel that way about yourself? Um, I mean, if you explain these ideas to your classmates at the time, I don't know if they would understand.
Yeah,
Do you feel like people were on the same page as you?
no, I don't think so.
No.
Because one thing that I remember from my classmates is that they were actually excited to go to school.
Oh.
Like, if they weren't on school, they would be the ones bored to death, not me. And so basically, school was everything for them. They would love school. They would want to go to school as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we were definitely in different pages, could say.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. And your parents agreed to that. And then, so later on, I guess as the years passed, what was it like? Did it get easier for you as you got older?
You mean going to school?
Yeah, did it, I guess, did you ever get the hang of it? Or was there a moment where you felt like where you felt more at peace with it? Where you
Like,
felt like, oh, this is okay?
like I don't know how to say that, but from I guess 2010 to 2013, they were really good years for me in school because I had one teacher that was like the best teacher that I ever met in my life.
Oh.
Because before any classes, she would like stay 1 hour speaking with us about life in general and stuff way more useful in the subject that she was about to teach. And I had her like 4 different classes because she taught those,
Mhm.
and that made school better for me. It's also the teacher that made me write the most while I was at school. Uh, I don't write that much anymore, but when I was at school with that teacher, I even wrote a book with a
What?
classmate. Yeah, a fantasy book. I don't know where it is right now,
Wow.
but she was a really good teacher, and that made school more appealing to me. But besides her, everything was like, nah, I could be doing something more worth of my time.
Mhm.
And when I uh, went to high school, and there's something that I need to explain before saying about my high school years. I went to a public school, but this public school is basically a college to get in. You need to do some exam, you need to have good grade. It's like it's hard to get in. And I went there because high school is even more expensive in Brazil. So my parents wouldn't be able to afford to pay
Oh.
for a high school for me. So I guess I for the first time of my life I studied for a test and passed in this public school. And I remember exactly the day that I got the call that I got accepted it because my mom literally started jumping around the around the room and telling like everybody she could tell that I got it. It was like seeing her fulfilling her own life. The same with
Mhm.
my dad, and then all my family at all started calling me and praising me for that. Like Brazilian families, not all of them, but mine especially, are really connected. So the moment that I passed the test, it felt like my whole family, like my grandma, my uncles, my cousins, everyone passed together with me. And I went there. And the first day at the high school that I sat in the classroom, I was like, I can't make it. I really can't make it. Like the first day, the first second, before the teacher even started to speak the class, I was already at that mood. So I could say that at that moment, my life stopped making sense to me because it was hard to get in and think about not wanting to be there after I passed through all that effort and after I saw how happy my family was because I did it was really overwhelming for me because I didn't have the the mission of fulfilling my parents' efforts because the effort to get there was completely mine. So the responsibility towards school for me at that moment was like, okay, I got me here. My parents are spending anything at all with that. Okay, they invested me before, and this is like good for them, but I won't be able to make it. And the first year, I barely showed at classes, so I failed. I almost got kicked out of it because of how often I showed to the classes. So I repeated the first year, passed, and when I was in the second year, I was like the same thing I was at the first day. Like, I really can't do it. I really can't do it. And here in Brazil, we have something called Enem. It's like a really important exam if you want to go to any college at all. And for my luck, at the time that I decided I would do that test, and I say that, and I say to my parents that I was just seeing if I would be good in it. I had the option to finish my high school if I had a decent grade enough to pass in it. So I basically went there without thinking much about it, had a good grade. I could go to a college, and so I just decided to completely drop high school at that moment without choice. Like the years that I spent in high school, I could say that they were the most stressful and worst days of my life because I had to deal with that feeling that I'm betraying my parents. Like my mom literally cried of joy when I told her that I passed the exam. And dealing with that duty of leaving that effort behind to make something that I didn't know what I would do was something that would make you just want to stay in the bed when I wake up and like
Mhm.
don't think at anything at all. So when the time to go to school, which was really early, I had to wake up like 5 a.m. to go to school because of how far it was from my house. I would just get in the bus and wait to the bus like drive around the city so I could go back to home after a few hours so they weren't suspecting like sleep or play. It was really tough for me when I started to think about it.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why quitting school wasn't hard for me because I knew from the past that it wasn't worth it. And when I started the school, which should be like one of the best in my country, I just saw the same thing over and over again. Like the teachers aren't good enough. I'm not learning things that will be useful to my future. I don't want to work with this because I'm pretty sure that this market will just don't exist in the next couple of years because of how outdated the system was. And
You said this
I,
market?
yeah, like I was studying for electronics, but the electronics that I was studying was way too old. Like people can solve issues that I was trying to solve with way less material and money today. And I wouldn't want to work in a factory because that's where I would end up. And at the same time, I wouldn't want at all to go to the college after that because 4 years of learning and I lost one, so I would spend 5 years. And public schools in Brazil, it's really come to have strikes. I guess that's how it says. So people will just stop teaching due to political stuff, and that can go from a few weeks to a few months, maybe a whole year, and I will be tied to that. So what should be 4 years could become 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10. Like my older brother just graduated from college. He's 30 now, and he spent almost 10 years in college because of stuff like that.
10?
10 years in college. Yeah.
Oh
Imagining
my.
how he feels right now.
Yeah, 10 for the undergraduate only.
Well, sorry?
For undergraduate degree only.
Nah, he was studying for engineering, and the reason why he spent that time in college was not because he was failing at his classes or something like that, but because for because of like existing problems, he couldn't get enough classes to simply keep going. So in a year, he would be like studying just one class. The other year, he would be studying two, and the other year that he should be like studying five, he couldn't because one of the classes that he needed, he he should have a prerequisite that was literally invented that year, so he couldn't have had that class before. So he had to go to that class, and he couldn't like go to many classes because he also needed to work
I see.
in order to
Yeah.
keep college. And seeing that together with the fact that I knew the school wasn't good enough for me, I was like, I'll be completely screwed if I keep going to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Wow. I got goosebumps when you were explaining how your your family was so happy for you getting into that
Yeah,
top tier high school, and then that first day of school like you just knew you couldn't do it. And yeah, I got goosebumps when you said that. Um, yeah, because I think there is that feeling of betrayal, right?
yeah.
Mm. Would you say that you
Like
have? Oh, go ahead.
the thing that made my parents the most happy was because they didn't have the opportunity to go to a college and have a proper education, and they used to think that because of that they were in the situation that they were, even though they live a good life, a humble life, but a good life. They thought that I didn't deserve a life like theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So having that was like the chance that they wanted to have. They were at my age, so they were like happier than me because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made it more difficult because both my parents didn't literally finish high school and not even mentioning college. And the people from their family that actually finished college had a better life than theirs.
I see.
So they seem to connect. Like I didn't finish high school, I didn't go to college, so I'm the situation that right now. You do a good high school, you finish, you do a college, and you have a great job, and you won't have problems like we do.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be their mindset,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah. So at that time, did you have the same mindset as they did? And what?
No,
No. So I guess
I never agreed to it.
you never.
Never.
Mm. Mm. Do you think what gave you that confidence? I don't know if that's the right word, but um, what was it that gave you confidence to just do what you know is right for yourself in that situation?
I guess I had no choice.
Yeah.
That's the word. Because I was already lying to them. And I have a good relationship with my parents. And I knew that for them, it would be better for me to be happier in living the life that I chose to live instead of living the life that they thought it would be good for me to live. So when the time came for me to tell them, I remember sitting with my mind saying like, okay, I did this test, I finished high school, and I won't go to high school anymore. I'm quitting school. Before I even started saying it, like I literally sat down with her. She looked in my eyes and started crying. Like I didn't say a single word to her. I just sat down with her in the sofa and she started crying. Like she started literally crying because she knew it already. Like it was obvious to anyone else that I wasn't happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be just a matter of time that I would say it, but I think that she at least had hope that I would overcome it and finish because she thought that it would be good for me. My dad was easier because he he always gave me more the pain, I guess.
Could you say
So
that again?
when I said it, what?
Oh, what did you? I didn't hear what you said about your dad.
My dad always gave me more independence.
I see. Mm-hmm.
So when I told him that I was leaving, I told him first because my mom was at the gym at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, but what are you gonna do? That was his only concern.
Mm-hmm.
And he even tried to advise me like, okay, I did the same as you when I was your age. Things didn't work well for me. So if you are going to do that, be sure to know what you're doing and be ready for the consequences of what is about to come. And you should know that I won't I won't allow you to slack off here.
Oh.
So if you're leaving, you better work. My mom tried to convince me to not quit. She cried. She almost stopped talking with me. Like she got mad in between, but that lasted like a few hours. And after a week, so leaving, I felt so relieved of getting the thing out of my shoulders that they realized it, what I have to do in my life. They just supported me with everything that I did. So I guess it was good. My family was always helpful with that stuff. Like when they when I went to the 12,
Oh,
they couldn't
your
afford.
microphone.
When I wanted to do something that cost money, but they couldn't afford,
Uh-huh.
they wouldn't simply say, no, we can't. They would be like, okay, we can't right now, but I think we can do something about it if you really want to. So they always help me with basically anything that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And one one person that really helped me, like getting terms with my mom, especially my mom, was my brother because he already knew before that I wanted to quit,
Yeah.
and he was in the college, like in the situation that I just told you. So he knew better than me what would come to my life. And at the same time, he knew that I was learning stuff to work from home and get money. So he talked with my parents and they were like, okay, all right, if you're saying that, we're going to trust both of you and see what happens. So, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it feels good to this day to like remember the that time because I really felt like I was carrying the world in my shoulders, like, and taking that off from me made me feel so light. Like I discovered who I was again. Like, yeah, that's basically it. I could say.
Yeah. Wow. It's like you got that freedom back. You got your
Yeah,
freedom back.
for
So,
sure.
who was it that you found? I imagine it would be very scary, but was just after leaving school, I imagine it would be really scary. But when you felt that relief, was there any certainty that came with it at all?
Like I felt anxious about what I would do because I had to work
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have much to work with. At the same time that I felt anxious about what was about to come, I was like, okay, this can be bad, but at least I'm the one choosing to do so. And if anything goes wrong, I have the power to change it because I'm in control. So having that in my mind was the best thing I could ever had. Like I wasn't happy, but I knew that I was in control of my life, and because of that, I would steer it to a path of happiness, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite easy to start showing results though, because I I don't know if I told you, but I always wanted to animate when I
Oh.
was a little kid. Like when people ask me what do you want to do when you grow up, I was like, I don't know, I want to do computer graphic and animate cool stuff. And I had a moment in my life that I was actually studying that, and with that I learned a lot of design, how to work with Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe Premiere, you know, all the
Mm-hmm.
Adobe stuffs. But I quit animation because I realized it was not for me.
No.
Yeah, I believe that to my girlfriend. But because I had that had that period in my life, I knew how to do some design stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I didn't find myself good at it at that time, I was good enough to search for jobs. So I basically entered literally every freelance site out there, Brazil, US, Europe, all of them, you name it, and started posting every single day as much as possible jobs to get. And the first one that I got was money enough to pay for electricity and internet. So I literally took all the money that I received from the little job that I did. I think it was a logo to an Australian spa, something like that.
Mm.
I took the money that I received from it, went to the bank, cashed it, and gave it to my dad. And he was like, "All right, okay, another cat." He was like, "All right, keep going. I like it." And that's basically what I did. I started working with design, and there are a lot of stuff in between. Like I had met several people in the design industry before starting working with it. And when I decided I would go towards that path, I had some people to talk and help me. And one of those people actually started a company with me, a design company. That later moved to be a marketing company that made me grow and move. Then now I finally like left that company that I started with that friend, and I'm starting my own company. Like there's a lot of stuff in between, but I just wanted to say that things got easier when I started to create my own path because anyone. So if I wanted something, I could just search for it. I could study for it and grind to the day that it pays off. And I was so happy with the freedom that all the harsh stuff that were happening with me actually didn't bother me that much.
Mm.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, it sounds easier to go to school instead of start your own marketing company. But for you, it's the exact opposite in reality.
Yeah, and I had Google on my side. Like,
Yes, Google.
what is best? What is best? Like,
Google is our friend.
A college in Brazil or Google that has all the information of the world?
Google, like, YouTube.
Exactly.
It's like you have all the information at your fingertips. Power.
Hold on. She wants some attention.
Hello, cat. Oh.
Yeah, to make choice.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Having the ability to make my own choices, like, really changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Because I could choose what I could improve in my life. And even though that wasn't useful for me at that time, I knew that someday, at some point, it would be, and it would pay off. Mm-hmm. Different from school that I would spend 8 hours a day trying to learn something that I would never use in my entire career.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like with school, if you have a clear idea of where you're going, school is like shooting into the dark where you're taking it's even riskier than just studying something on your own, I feel. If you have a clear idea. Well, if you have a clear idea. You said
one thing that sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
One thing that I realized is that some people really need a system. Like they need someone telling them what to do. They need someone saying what is best for them. And even though I find it not healthy to live like that, mm-hmm. I respect people that choose to live like that because not everyone is prepared to take responsibility for their own faults. And even though this sounds simple, like hearing, of course I should take responsibility of my own faults. It really isn't. Like, and school is a safe place to those people. And I'm pretty sure that if they stick with it and follow the path, the dream path of going to school, going to college, and get a job, they can have a happy and fulfilled life. I don't disregard that, even though I will never do that.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. That's where the mistake is, I think. Thinking it's for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think taking responsibility means? Taking responsibility for your own life. What do you think it means?
It's knowing that everything that you say and do will have a consequence, everything around you. Not just only you, but also the people that may live with you, people that may depend on you. Because when I gave up school, I knew that I was basically saying to my parents that they may have to work to the 80s because I wouldn't be like wealthy enough to help them if they needed to stop working. So I was basically saying to my parents, "You won't retire, all right? Just hold on to what you're doing because you won't retire." And that's really hard when you stop to think about it. Like being responsible not for only what happens to you, but may happen to your friends, to your family. Like imagine it if I had friends in school. What would it be like quitting school? Like I would be completely out of it. So I guess that's one of the things that makes this path so easier for most of the people because they had a fantasy in their mind that if they just stick to it, everything will be okay. Even if it may not be okay, it's more accepted and all your efforts are like praised.
Yeah.
If you join a good college, everyone will be really excited about that. People will support you more. But if you open a company, people will be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Especially here in Brazil, like
Okay.
things are harder.
Yeah, I think in America the culture is very much it's more supportive towards people who want to start their own company. Well, I don't know what Brazil is like, but there's that culture
It's the
here.
complete opposite.
Opposite.
The complete opposite. Like the dream life here in Brazil is going to a public college, finishing it, and after that, studying your ass off so you can get a public a public job. Like I don't know how to translate that, but you need to literally study your ass off. Like stop speaking with anyone that you know for like 2 years in order to study to these exams, so you can get a good job in public areas. So you have your entire life like peaceful and established.
Yeah.
That's the dream life in Brazil. And if you do anything out of that line, you will hear from your aunt that you have a cousin that studied for 15 years and now he lives by earning millions a day because he got a public position in some type of big company that works for the government.
How does that life dream life sound like to you?
Jail.
Like, one word. Jail.
First of all, I already said that before, but it's good to say it again. I really value freedom. And one thing that I'm really sure about my country is it is in a free country, and people that support the system through going to positions like that just makes things worse because uh, this may be a little bit shocking, but in medium, we Brazilians have to pay like 60% of our income taxes. Like more than half what that we receive, we need to pay taxes. And all the taxes go to things like that, like jobs like that really shouldn't exist. Just exist because someone in the government said it should. And the people that receive salaries of 10, 20 times more than an average worker here. And that's the real thing because people work towards the dream life without knowing that they are actually making others people's lives worse because of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not a real job. It doesn't create a real value. So they are pretty much stealing people's money and using for their own.
I see. So it's like they just are most of the jobs just people sitting in the office,
Yeah.
not really doing much.
Fun fact: if people like that pass in this exam and they simply don't show up at all at work, they don't show up at all at work, they can't be fired.
I see.
They are protected by law of being fired from their work. And doesn't matter what is happening with the country, they need to be paid. So they don't need to generate any kind of value, and they don't need to do anything at all, to be honest. Like, I bet that some people may disagree with me, but this is what most of these works are. And that's why there are so many people grinding their lives to do that.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can translate what it says, what it really is. Hold on. English. We call it public tender.
Public attender.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had something. I'm not sure about this in US history, but I know in China they have something very similar in the past. I don't know if they have it now, but it's like where if you go through the education system, you can get a government job where you won't get fired. You get paid a lot, very regularly. Yeah. Yeah, I did not know that about Brazil. So it's like you're somebody who you can kind of step out and see what's going on there in this with the system. So of course you don't want to add on to that.
Yeah.
As a person. Plus, it doesn't sound very fun for you.
Especially because I would be grounded in Brazil for the rest of my life, and I really don't think that someone can live their entire life without knowing other parts of the world. Like, even though I never left Brazil yet, I feel like I'm already missing out a lot of things there.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll get out of Brazil, not out, but you'll get there someday. You'll be able to travel. Yeah, and travel is like a huge part of freedom too. I believe it's when you can travel, you have the freedom to see other perspectives or other culture
For sure.
firsthand. The big part of freedom.
like Brazil is a really big country. So by moving from my home city to São Paulo, it was already a big difference for me because people are basically saying another language here. Like if Brazil did just like Europe, I'm pretty sure each state will have like their own language of just to see how different people are from state to state. And getting the perspective shift in the same country was already mind blowing for me because some stuff that for me was like an absurd here is normal. Like Salvador, the city where I grew up, for some reason recently got an award saying that it's one of the safest cities to ever travel in Brazil. That's a lie. Salvador is literally one of the most violent cities in Brazil. And I grew up like in constant fear of getting shot or stabbed in the street by someone trying to rob me or the police mistaking me for someone else.
Wow.
So when I got here in São Paulo, it's still violent because Brazil itself has a lot of crime issues, but people here actually walk with their phones in their hands. Like for me, that was almost asking to be robbed or killed in Salvador. And in Salvador, it was normal to people to have two cell phones, one for them and one for the robber. And like here in São Paulo, we don't see that. And people here in São Paulo say that São Paulo is dangerous. São Paulo is aggressive, violent. You should be careful with that. But when I walk here in the night, I'm like, I'm the danger here in the street. Not that guy coming over there. Like, I've came from a city that, if I was here at this time, the guy in the other side of the street will be trying to kill me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that shift of mindset, like, really taught me much about people in general. Like, we don't really know what we have till we step out of it. And even if it's good or bad, we don't really know what we have. And that's one of the reasons why I really want to go to places that people don't even know where Brazil is.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's right. We don't really know what we have if it's good or bad, really. I'm just asking this out of curiosity, really, but like, what was it like growing up in São Paulo, where what was it like where you were living with that constant fear? Just because.
Oh, you mean Salvador?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Salvador. Salvador. What was it like growing up with that constant fear? Because I can't imagine it. Just as someone who hasn't experienced living in a place where I feel that danger all the time. So I'm just wondering how that affected you and how, like, what happened when you moved. That, what happened to your thinking after that move?
Okay. Mm-hmm. This may sound weird for me to say, but I wouldn't change that growing up for me at any cost, because even though I was in this constant fear, in this violent environment with the possibility of anything happening to me at any time, when I'm outside my house or even inside my house, uh, made me value my time in here, Earth. Made me value my life more. And the same could be said to my parents, to my friends, to my brother, because when they were out like at 9 p.m., I would be worried about them because 9 p.m. there is really late. Like things get pretty bad at that time. So the violence in general, the constant fear, made me more close to my family, to my friends, and I guess the same could be said to everyone living in that situation. Like people are like more close, they like each other more. And when I came to São Paulo, even though here is safer, it's nicer, it has lots of better things. People are like really far away from each other. They don't speak that much. They don't know how the other one is feeling. Like Salvador, like people are really straightforward. If they don't like you, they will say it in your face, like without any doubt. But the same is true to the opposite. So people get connected like really fast. All the friendships that I made for life were like made in a split second, literally. Like we met and we knew that we should be friends or something like that. And here in São Paulo, people don't see that as a good thing. Like they have a sense of privacy that even though I respect doesn't make that much sense because they are living with people that don't like them and they don't like them too, but for some reason it's good for them to be close to those person. And I guess that comes literally just from not knowing that tomorrow they could be dead. And that was something really powerful for me, especially when I realized it, because I started to value more the things that I had. And people here in São Paulo, even though the conditions are better than Salvador, they they don't know how to appreciate the life that they have. And they complain about everything and just make their lives like worse than ever. Salvador, if I take out all the violence, all the crimes, all the corruption that goes there, it's like one of the best places that I would ever want to live. Just because of that. Just because of how close people are and how beautiful the city really is. Like it's a historical city. It was built like in 500 years ago. So it still has lots of history there. And the personality that simply everyone from the worst neighborhood possible to the best one is like almost the same. There are no, how can I say that? There are no difference between these people. Like, of course, there are inequalities, but the inequality there is much smaller than here in São Paulo. Like, I just so you can understand something. In Salvador, I'm white, but here in São Paulo, I'm black, and that that shift for me was like, wait a second, what is this? Like, what is happening here exactly? And being white in Salvador didn't mean that black people wouldn't like me or white people would feel like they should reach me out. It was just that people would mock me like you are brighter than me. There were no racism there. But here in São Paulo, it 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 really happens. Like racism really happens with people, and that duality between people really didn't make sense to me till I came here. Like for me, it was like all fairy tales and people trying to divide the others for no reason at all. And I don't know. I, it just feels weird to think about it because of the place I grew up. Even though it isn't a place good to grow up, I feel very glad that it did that because the the situation taught me so much about people in general. And I think that's what matters the most. I don't care if I didn't have the best education I could have. I don't care if I had the best home I could live. I literally learned stuff that will carry through my entire life.
Yeah. Wow. Mm. Yeah, so it's like, it sounds like it wasn't, I don't know, I feel like this is too simple of a word to describe, but it sounds like it wasn't a bad life at all. Like there was a lot of good things, and what I think is so nice is that I feel like I sense like a genuine appreciation from you for what you had and also now what you have, which is just, even I think someone in the, I don't know, best situation or from a very wealthy family maybe, or they go to the best school, a lot of people don't have that sense of content and appreciation. And yeah, and then definitely I have noticed from my own experience when I go to the, sometimes it could be like a very wealthy neighborhood and I'm just walking through it, or the bigger cities, it's, there's like a sense of coldness, like a
Exactly.
cold feeling, right? It's like this
Like
privacy.
a barrier.
Yes, exactly. There's that barrier. And I've noticed that, and then I've just thought to myself sometimes that's not necessarily a great thing to have, because I think the isolation is also very negative. Isolation is very poisonous, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the stuff, the racism, I'm really interested in that. And also right now in the, I don't know if you know, but in the United States there's like a ton of, that's a hot topic, like very big
Oh yeah,
topic
yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know.
But how do you understand that? So now you've been living there for a few years. Like so I guess you probably come to understand how it works more, or that mindset in people. So how have you come to understand what goes on in other people's minds? And yeah, I guess.
Like I have something that when I remember to use it, it actually really helps me, and that is thinking about how I would be if I lived that person's life. So I always try to picture myself doing the same things that the person did, having the same experience that the person did, to understand where the hate came from, or even something good like how that happiness came to the person. And when it comes to racism, uh, I maybe I don't know if I should say everything that I think because I think it's a really dangerous
Yeah.
way of thinking.
Oh, okay.
But I will just go ahead and say it. No matter. I think that most people that are racist, they aren't racist because they have hatred in their heart or something kind of that. They are racist because they were taught to be racist. And not necessarily they were taught to be racist uh, by their parents or their friends or the place that they grew up. And when I say racism, I'm not saying racism like white people to black people. I'm literally saying racism to all races, all extent, because that thing really triggers me when people think that racism only exists with white people to black people and not the other way around and stuff like that. And what I see is that those people were taught by simple things like school should be racist. And like people that had interest of dividing these people and crawl upon the system and made little things here and there. So when people reach those things, they start to have those racist thoughts. And one of the things that I'm pretty sure it's true is one of the cures for racism is just traveling to other place and getting to meet someone. Because it's literally something that you learn. You don't grow up being racist. Like you don't born to be a racist. Just the same as I don't know, being a killer or something like that. It's a process. And I don't know in US, but especially here in Brazil, it's a process very well hidden, but it isn't like by chances or like it doesn't exist out of nowhere. Someone created because they wanted that to exist so they could have more power to those people's life. Because when you see a government issue, it's way easier to just say that the other person that doesn't agree with you is wrong and worse than you than saying that the thing that you are doing is not the best. So by dividing those races, they can just be like, fuck it, I'm doing something wrong. But that guy over there, if he were in my place, you would be probably dead by now. He would literally kill you and eat your children in front of you. That's what he would do. So the bad thing that I'm doing with you right now is nothing compared to what he would do. So you shouldn't hate me. You shouldn't hate them. And that's raised Brazil society in many different ways. Like I can't even explain it. I don't know where to start it. Like I don't know if US has something like minimum wage.
Yeah, we do.
Does US have? Okay. Brazil, talking about minimum wage is almost sorry, talking badly about minimum wage is almost the same as saying that God is shit to some people here.
God is
Shit. It's like literally cursing to gods, saying that minimum wage is a bad thing. And what happens with minimum wage here in Brazil? There are a lot of people, especially black people, because the majority of people in Brazil are black, that doesn't have enough education and enough time to educate themselves to get a proper job. And because of that, anything that they try to do is undervalued. Like they are simply not good enough because they didn't have the chance to be good enough. And when they try to reach the market and say, okay, I need to work because I gotta eat, but I don't know how to do much, the market will simply say to them, okay, I can pay you 100 for that. And both of them agrees because he knows that he isn't worth more than that yet, and he needs that job to grow to being more worth. But at the time that they are about to finish that deal, and that person is about to grow out of something difficult to them, the government comes and says, no, you can't pay 100 to him. That's illegal. You are literally enslaving this man. So you need to at least pay him 5 times this amount. If you don't pay him 500, you can't employ him. And what happens when that happens? The guy is unemployed because he isn't worth 5 times what he was offered. And the employer will just look for someone better than him. And that guy will be left in misery, poverty, and due to that, he will probably have to stick with means that wouldn't be as effective as the ones they were looking for. And I don't agree with that word, but I know that it happens. People simply take the shortest path. They will say, okay, I can work, I work with someone and get the money. And a little thing like that, like minimum wage, builds up to a lot of other things because they take the opportunity of that person with that, and after that they say, okay, you don't have enough opportunities, so I'm creating this program over here for you to be able to get there. And this program that they create just segregates these people more because it's like stamping in their foreheads that they are worse than other people's. They don't value that much, and they can't get it if the government doesn't help them. So when I see racism, when I see someone being racist, I can't really be mad at them because I know that there are a lot of things of interest going on around it. So I feel like I pity the people that feel like that because I see that if I didn't grow in the house that I grew, if I didn't have the experience that I had, like I had the experience of speaking with people from all across the globe since I was 5 years. So it's an experience that not anyone in my country is allowed to have. And if I were in that position, I wouldn't be different for that person. I can see that being in the person's food is like would be the same for me. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
And I don't know. I know it's a little bit controversial the way that I think, and I don't really talk about that much because one thing that I realized is that I do better to the world and the people around me being better with me than trying to convince everyone else that they are living their lives like wrongly. If that makes sense.
Yes, it's not a really effective strategy to try to convince everyone of that.
Like if I have the opportunity to have a open talk like this one that we're having here, sure, I will make my way of explaining the person that, but I know it's not mandatory of them to understand what I'm saying or even believe what I'm saying. Like, I don't say anything to try to convince someone. I just say to make them think about it.
Yeah. I think as soon as you need to convince, it's just like the wall comes up usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. It was really insightful what you explained about the situation with minimum wage. I I didn't I don't think I really connected the dots there ever. But when you explain it that way, it makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, because here in America, there's a huge homelessness problem. I don't know if that's an issue there as well.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
but yeah, what there's like, I feel like all these problems are also tied in. They're all tied together. Even school, I feel like, is a huge education, right?
Yeah,
It's like all
yeah.
not knotted together. Like it's all tied together. Mm, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think taking away the minimum wage would do anything to help with the
Um,
situation? Like, how do you go about? I guess starting by not contributing to this system is the best.
I have two thoughts about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think it would really make something change if we like do minimum wage. But at the same time, I know that doing things out of the blue like that doesn't work because
Yep.
the minimum wage is something that was built in people's mind throughout several years, throughout several generations. And taking that belief from them won't make the positive change because they won't have the mind to think like that. So when they have the government deciding for them how much they should earn for their jobs, they are taking away the responsibility from them of negotiating their lives, basically,
Mm-hmm.
with the person about to employ them. And when things get bad at their jobs, they can always rely on the government, especially here in Brazil. Things are like, you don't want to be someone employing someone here in Brazil because the government has all the means to screw you over and leave you broke just by literally employing someone. And I don't know if that's the same US, but legal causes around work here are really big. People make a lot of money from it. And the the real problem is the mindset. Because, for example, people may be free from the minimum wage, but they aren't free from the government deciding what it's safe for them to consume. For example, like I know that in US there are like a really big war on drugs, like literally a war on drugs
Mm-hmm.
on US, and it's not that different here in Brazil. And the thing is, when the people actually start believing that they need the minimum wage to be protected from something,
Mm-hmm.
it's the problem, not the minimum wage itself, because people can simply just ignore it and do their lives. So just taking away something like that wouldn't make much a difference in a short period, but showing people what it actually means and building up to getting out of it would be better, not just making it vanish. Like it's a complicated topic for me because, as I said, and I will say it again, I really value freedom, and for me, it doesn't make any sense that even though I don't like drugs or alcohol, I really don't like neither of these. I feel like I should have the chances of trying it if I wanted to. So the government saying to me that I shouldn't have it because it is bad. It's like, okay, you are basically telling me that I have no capacity of saying what is good for my body, but at the same time, you are saying that I'm smart enough to elect the president, to like everything. Like I can't say if a cigarette is good or bad for me, but at the same time, I can choose who will run all the country. Like doesn't make sense when you put things like that. And that's the main issue for me.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Hmm. I think it's the age old. Is that right? Age old issue. Like it's a.
Makes
I don't
sense.
know if
Makes
that's
sense.
the right word, but it's just. I think people have been trying to figure it out for a while, but then there's the systems in place. It's just it doesn't work just to cut off pieces of the system, hoping it will. I don't know. Because yeah, if you change the system abruptly without changing the people's mindset, it's it's just there's the high likelihood of collapse, right? Where everything just stops working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I just find it so fascinating because in the US there's a lot of the the election is coming up and there's a lot of the progressive candidates that were proposing to make the minimum wage here higher. So to make it higher so that people have so that the people working minimum wage at the moment will be will have a better life essentially with more money. But then like when you put it this way, I have a completely different perspective on what could really be going on here. So I just find that really fascinating.
And the thing is, this is like a really old age problem. So some people actually believe that it happened. Like you raise the price of how people should be earning their monies and they are living a better life. Like it kind of makes sense when you don't put much thought into it,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it doesn't. So there are actually people saying that with good means, like they are not trying to cause any harm to people. They are genuinely thinking good to people.
Right.
So, which is even worse because how can you hate someone like that?
uh, yeah. Oh man. Does I mean, does thinking about that make you feel like stuck in any way? Because it definitely makes me feel stuck sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like when I was in school, I felt very similar to you, and for me, it was very much like I saw I kind of saw the way school worked and how the system of school worked, and I wanted to get out of that box or that cage. But after leaving school, I've gradually come to see that the society or the government, the societal structure is there's a structure in place there as well. But of course, there's no way to escape that, like the way I escaped school. I don't know if you can relate to this in any way.
yeah, I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can move to a free country like that, but the same principles will be there. Like the place could be better, but at the same time, there will still be a government that, and that government can be good, but at the same time, it will have the influence of changing my life. So I simply won't be free from it, like at all, unless I don't know, I buy an island and create a place for me to live there with my own rules and I don't know, completely remove myself from radars so I don't get bombed by any country at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't sound that possible too.
Yeah, doesn't sound probable. Well, if you could do that, would you do it? Would you do it?
I don't know, like maybe now I wouldn't, but I don't know if I would think twice about that when I am like 80 years or 90 years old and I just want to relax and forget about the world's problem.
Uh-huh.
So now I think I wouldn't, but I would be lying if I say that it would be good for me to do something like that right now.
Because well, freedom is one of the things you value most, right? And is there, I guess, what kind of situation do you think would be one where you would be willing to sacrifice some of your freedom? Or, uh, or a different way to put it might be, like, what do you think is worth sacrificing your freedom for, if anything?
That's actually a question that I had to ask myself really recently. And my answer would be like my family, my girlfriend, my friends. I guess it would be worth for me to sacrifice some of my freedom for them because it wouldn't mean much for me to have all the freedom that I want if I couldn't have them, basically. And I don't know if I had to give up my freedom in order to still be able to walk and do all the exercises and sports that I like to do. I will probably do it too because I value my body and especially my mind a lot. And besides that, I won't trade my freedom for anything at all.
Mm-hmm. See. Yeah. So it's like you're valuing yourself, but also those close to you at the same
Yeah,
time, and holding those. They're both
like
important.
one thing that I have with me is that I didn't reach the place that I am right now by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may seem like the effort that I did was by myself, if I say it some sort of way, but I simply can't ignore all the people that helped me, all the people that supported me, all the people that were there, even without knowing that they were there. And I really value that because I know that these didn't happen till now. Like I know that in the future I'll be saying the same. Like if I reach a better situation than this today, tomorrow, I know that someone will be helping me alongside that,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't know it.
Yeah. Who would you say has helped you the most? Is that even a question you can
It's hard
answer?
to say.
Yeah,
Like
that's.
my answer would be it depends. Like it depends of what we're talking about. Because if we say something like related to my fitness and stuff like that, I would say that my dad and my mom helped me a lot. My dad because he signed me for kung fu classes when I was 5 because I had too much energy to spare and he thought it would be a cool idea. And after that I fell in love with every kind of martial arts and movement in general. And my mom because she really encouraged me to do it. Like anything that she could to make me keep going, she would do it. And even herself would be doing something like going to the gym, even though she's like 52 right now. She wakes up 4 a.m. To go to the gym. I would say that I thank them for that. But if I would say that about my financial side, that's when things get to will start to get like messy because I had lots of help, especially from people that don't even know me at all. Like
Oh,
YouTube is like a lifesaver for me.
yeah.
Anything that I don't know, YouTube. Nice. So I asked for it. My older brother helped me a lot with that too because he basically taught how to use the internet.
Mm.
The friend that started that company with me really helped me with that too because funnily enough he's like the same age as my older brother, so he was like a second older brother to me, and he still is even though we are not working together anymore. And he really set the path for me like, okay, I did this wrong in your age and I'm doing this now to fix what I did. So since you are at the age that I did this wrong, you can just like come with me and skip that part of doing things wrong that age specifically. So I had a lot of help from it too. And it stopped getting credit where it's still in my life because
Mhm.
I feel like I'm always receiving help from all all possible part of the world. I don't know. My mom, as I said in the beginning, is a really spiritual person, and
Mhm.
she says that even that I'm taking like I'm receiving help from that too. So even though I don't believe that as much, I can't deny it. I simply want like, what if I say that I don't receive some spiritual help and tomorrow I'm dead? So I won't deny it too. So yeah, I'm grateful for the person that I have around my life.
Mhm.
Like I don't know, I have a really good luck finding these types of person in my life. Like I found you out of nowhere, and this experience here itself, I know that will make my life so much better from now on. And I'm pretty sure that in the future I'll remember this day and be like, okay, I'm pretty sure that I'm doing this thing big here right now because I was able to do that with Anne that day.
Yeah, I have a good feeling. Mhm. I think it's your. I don't know. I'm a very big fan of your mindset. I'm a big fan of your mindset and just um, being able to feel the gratitude from you is just very. It's very nice and a kind of breath of fresh air. I will say. I think
Like
it's
thinking
like.
about it right
Mhm.
sorry. Thinking about it right now, I never felt so grateful before like I'm feeling grateful right now because I think I never spoke out that much and saw everything that happened to me. So I don't know, this may be something new with me, but I didn't have that till like yesterday. Don't give that much thought on it.
Okay. Maybe. Alright. Yeah, and I won't jinx it either. Yeah.
Great.
Mm. What were we talking about before this?
Racism
Oh yeah, that.
and system. Yeah.
Yeah, and systems. Mm. Hmm. Oh yeah, I was. So like the internet, right? That was. Do you think? I know, because there's a lot of people who don't have access to the internet still. I think it's like for people with internet, it's a common misconception that a lot of people have access to it,
Yeah.
but it's really not the case. But it sounds very monumental in in your life. Like, is that mainly where you learned how to do a lot of the things after you dropped out? Like, is
I
it through
could
the
say
internet
that before I drop out, I learned everything that I know in internet.
before?
Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like even learning how to speak English. Like, I learned it through playing, I don't know, online games and reading stuff because I don't know, it just stuck in me that the necessity of learning English, and I don't think I would be able to do it without the internet. And basically, since since Google was invented, I was using it to anything at all. Like, even though Google is spying on me right now, and I know he
Yep.
is because I use his data.
Hi.
I use his data to make my job. I'm really grateful for that. Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to reach anything that I reached in my life till now. I was able to study subjects that I wouldn't normally do in my entire life just because someone in Europe wrote about that, and by some coincidence or any sort of events, I saw it and learned from it. And then I told that to my mom, I told that to my dad, I told that to my brother, I told that to my girlfriend, and they changed their life with that. And then they changed my life with that too because of, yeah, it gets complicated, but you can see that I could say that I wouldn't have anything that I have today if it wasn't for the internet. And I'm in contact with the internet since I learned to speak, and I literally learned how to read and write in order to use the internet. So yeah, I've been connected to it
Mhm.
since I could,
Yeah.
basically.
It's just a giant encyclopedia. Hmm.
That
Yeah.
keeps growing
It keeps
every
going.
single second.
It's terrifying when you really think about.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm thankful that cuz yeah, I wouldn't be able to find you if it wasn't for internet and Discord and
yeah,
the internet community. So, yeah, it's really something amazing. Hmm. And
it's
so
massive.
it's massive. Yeah, it's bigger than the world now. I feel like
Yeah,
it's
it definitely is.
its own
I
thing.
think if the world today gets destroyed by, I don't know, aliens or some sort of it, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that the internet has that place saved. It will keep living even without us.
I know.
Like, I have that feeling that they
Yeah.
probably sent the servers to another planet already.
Yeah.
Probably Elon Musk did
I don't want to think too much about that.
that.
Yeah.
Not healthy.
If I think too much about it, it's like the internet has a life of its own, even where it will.
Like
It has its.
some sort of it. It really has. Like if you think about it, like I got this consciousness because of my job since I work with marketing right now.
Mhm.
I know the power of the internet to influence people's mind.
Yeah.
So literally you can change your whole life tomorrow because of an ad that you see and get interested in it, and that ad will be shown to you because the internet knows what you like and knows what it should show you to influence you. So like it doesn't even need a human to do that.
Uh-huh.
Like the person who does that to you, it doesn't know it, that it is doing that. Sometimes when I am seeing my campaigns, I'm like, okay, I reached that amount of people. Uh, this little ad here that I did to sell a dress. How can this simple ad change a person's life? Like, how impactful this could be? Like, I'm just selling a dress to that person, but the same dress could be wear in a really special occasion for that person, and that single thing may change their entire lives. And it literally came from my desire to sell a product and improve trade. But the internet made so that person got reached by it and reacted and got it, and I don't know, it's really a butterfly effect if you stop to think about it.
Butterfly effects.
The little things in the internet really matter at all.
Yeah. You have to deal with the ethics of that too, in a way,
Yes.
as a marketer. Yeah. So, what are you doing now with this company? You're starting with your brother, right?
Yeah. I'm starting with my brother and other two friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we are doing it is pretty simple. I had a client for the past 5 months that works in, it's a clothing brand. It's a plus size clothing brand. And at first it was really weird for me to work with that. But I did a really simple job. I did all the obvious things that someone at my position should do. And I'll convert it to dollars to make it easy to understand. But we managed in 5 months to take $5,000 of investment and turn it into $200, $200,000 of return in 5 months. And if you think about it, Brazil, $1 equals R$ 5. So I literally made for the guy 1 million reais with like less than 5% of this amount of money. So it got me thinking, okay, I'm doing this for this guy. He has the resources to have this accomplishment. Like I did my job, but it wasn't just my job that brought him this result. But at the same time, I know what I need to do to reach that result. So why am I wasting my time doing that for someone else and not receiving enough for it when I can simply do it for myself and like do it and get it? That was the process to open this company that is still growing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't exist anymore. The only thing that it exists right now is its name. Its name is Cave.
Cave.
We don't know. Yeah, Cave. Like we don't know much about it yet, but we'll definitely now in the next couple of days because I'm really into it. And I'm also trying to find something to earn dollars because of like earning $1 is basically earning 5 times what I would earn in Brazil.
Mm.
Since I want to leave the country, it's better to start earning dollars right now.
Saving some money up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
If you have any ideas of how I can earn in dollars, like yesterday, you can tell me
Yes.
because I'm really looking to.
And what for earning dollars you mean jobs from US? Other
Yeah, from
countries?
US,
US?
Europe, like any place that doesn't pay a shitty currency like my country, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Hmm. And is so the motivation for your company is mostly just to earn what you're worth?
Yeah,
Yeah. I see.
not necessarily earning what I am worth
Mm-hmm.
because I don't really believe that because
Yeah.
like I said, I literally learned everything from the internet and all the resources that I use to get to the point that I know how to multiply that money is free and anyone have access to that. So I'm not doing anything special. I'm not generating like value to the world doing that. I'm just executing something that I know that works. And what I want to do is receive for the performance that I'm making. That's basically what I need.
Receive for the performance that you
Yeah.
make. So
Because
just
I really can see value of seeing campaigns all day and saying, okay, see, if I do that and spend like more money here, people will see more. And if I send it to the right people, those people will buy it and it will make a profit for it.
mhm,
Like I can see value for it. I know I can change someone's lives with a good product, but at the same
mhm.
time, I'm not doing that product. I'm just sending that to them so they can have the chance to
Yeah.
actually seeing it and buying it.
So what you're interested now in is creating a product, your own
Yeah,
product?
yeah,
Yeah, I see. That's a big step. Yeah. But I agree with you that that way it's really you're generating value in a much more impactful way than just marketing for someone else's product.
because when I create my product, it won't come like from nothing. People will need to work on it. So I'll be basically generating value in people's life by creating my product.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I create a T-shirt, this T-shirt will need to be sewn. Is that how it says?
Yeah.
When you're like,
Yeah.
and that person may make their lives better with the money that they would receive if my product didn't exist, for example. So I'm creating much more of an impact with that instead of just selling someone else's products that I don't know how they manufacture it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what they do with the profits. Like it can be a really dangerous path to take. Like don't being accountable of what people are doing with the money they're receiving from your job. That feels really dangerous for me
Yeah.
because some way it can be supporting something that I really wouldn't want to support.
Yeah.
And I will never know that.
No idea. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I would love to talk more with you, but I think we should end here. So we've been going for a
Yeah,
while. I know it's late over there.
it's getting
So
I think
sorry
it's getting
for
a little late here. Dang.
sorry for that.
It really is.
I guess so I'll ask you what I ask everyone, which is the last question. So what does it mean to you to walk your path? What does that mean to you?
It's actually a really interesting question. Can you say it again, please?
Yeah. Oh. Hold on a second. Okay. So what does it mean for you to walk your paths?
It means to me that I'm doing the things that I believe will cause a good impact on people, and at the same time, I'm doing the things that I believe are best for me and be in control of them. I guess that would be it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for coming on such short notice, and yeah, sorry to stretch it so late, but yeah, I'm really thankful for being able to meet you as well.
I really want to do it like another time again.
Yeah, we
It was
should.
like a really pleasant experience. I really
That's
like
great
it.
to hear.
I took a break and I'm still tired. I went away, doesn't feel like it. Holding my breath while I kill time. Almost like questioning real life. Cause after you've done it and done it again, the results only showing the same side. You wonder what's happening, why is it working for others? But I'm only stuck in the struggle.